After studying this module, you shall be able to learn the meaning of politics, understand what comprises of political behavior in organizations, describe the different causes of political behavior, know the nature of organizational politics, analyze the different antecedents to political behavior, and identify the key political techniques. Politics has been a topic of interest since olden days for thinkers and scholars alike. Aristotle wrote about politics and cited it as the outcome of conflicting interest of involved parties. That insight still holds good in the organizational setup. Politics in organization has been widely studied and researched. Organizational politics manifest in a number of organizational processes such as allocation of resources, decision making, performance appraisal, and conflict resolution among others. Power dynamics in an organization are closely entwined with political behaviors of the members. Because of the immense involvement of politics at every step in organizational scenario, it becomes essential to study organizational politics in some detail. Now coming to definition and its meanings. The term politics has been defined in many different contexts. In organizational context, some of the definitions are: organizational politics are informal, unofficial, and sometimes behind the scene efforts to sell ideas, influence an organization, increase power, or achieve other targeted objectives. This definition was given by Brandon and Selman in 2004. Another definition of politics is: politics is endemic to every organization, regardless of size, function, character, or ownership. Furthermore, it is to be found in every level of hierarchy, and it intensifies as the stake becomes more important and the area of decision possibilities greater. This was given by Pfeffer. Another definition of politics is: politics in an organization refers to those activities that are not regarded as part of one's formal role in the organization, but that influence or attempt to influence the distribution of advantages and disadvantages within the organization. This definition was given by Farrell and Peterson. From the above definitions, it is clear that politics is not a formal or sanctioned part of an individual's job or organizational role. It is in fact an additional effort made by the members of the organization in order to achieve a particular goal outside the purview of his or her own sanctioned functions. Secondly, politics is an attempt to influence others in the organization, in turn to influence the distribution of advantages and resources. Coming to characteristics of organizational politics. A number of different characteristics of organizational politics have been identified. They are: first, use of power or authority. Organizational politics involves the use of some form of power or authority in order to influence the regular turn of events. This power or authority is usually exerted on other members of the organization in order to get them to behave in a manner desired by those indulging in politics. Organizational politics also involves the use of power and influence by the employee more than often for personal gain. Second is outside formal organizational role. Organizational politics are informal and unofficial. It is not a part of the formal role of those engaging in it. In other words, people engaging in organizational politics often bypass the expectations attached to their organizational role and step out of the official boundaries in order to act on or to involve themselves in activities which are not officially expected of them as part of their roles. Third, unsanctioned and unsolicited. Engagement in organizational politics by the members is not sanctioned by the supervising authorities. Since politics are outside the purview of officially approved employee roles, engagement in organizational politics is not endorsed formally. As such, involvement in organizational politics is considered untowardly and therefore not appreciated or encouraged, which is why it is seen as unwanted. Fourth is not always negative. Although often portrayed negatively, organizational politics are not always so. Sometimes, organizational politics can lead to better outcome. Therefore, what is important is to identify the potentially destructive aspects of organizational politics so as to mitigate their negative and unfavorable consequences. What comprises of political behavior? Political behavior can be manifested in a number of ways. Examples of these political behaviors include making moves to influence decisions in one's own favor, playing blame games, withholding information or controlling the flow of information in the organization, bypassing the established chain of command, etc. There can be many reasons for indulging in these behaviors, such as trying to get approval for a special project, obtaining special favors, or securing promotions. Political behaviors are not limited to the above actions. Other similar actions involve lobbying, using unfair means, trying to look good, that is, presenting oneself in a favorable light using impression management techniques, etc. All these behaviors comprise of what is referred to as politicking. These types of actions destabilize regular organizational procedures and also raise questions on the fairness in the organization. Causes of political behavior in organizations. A number of factors act as causes of political behavior in organizations. Members of an organization engage in political behaviors as a result of being motivated by one factor or the other. Some of them are as follows. First is conflicting interests. A conflict of interest has been identified as giving rise to political behaviors since ancient times. Even famous Greek philosophers and thinker Aristotle wrote about it. When there is a conflict of interests, rational decision making alone may not work, and hence people engage in more than that in the form of political behaviors. Second is competition for scarce resources. A scarcity of resources that breeds competition among organizational groups can very well lead to indulgence in political behaviors. In case of an abundance of resources which satisfies everybody's needs, there arises no need for people to act in political ways. But if the resources are scarce and not sufficient for everybody's need, a competition ensues and people are more likely to engage in political behaviors. Third is unequal access to information. access to key pieces of information can play as a game changer in the organizational setups. Political behavior is likely to arise if some people have a better access to important information than others. These others who lack access to or fail to obtain important information using right means might resort to political acts in order to fill that void. Fourth is lack of feedback. Lack of feedback from supervisors and managers might result in dissatisfaction among the employees, which might foster political behaviors. If there is a direct line of communication between subordinates and superiors and an open communication about job performance, political behaviors can be minimized to a great extent. Fifth is ambiguous roles. Ambiguity in any form might lead to misunderstanding and uncertainty among the members of an organization. When an employee is unclear about what is expected of him or her as part of the organizational role assigned to him or her, he or she becomes more susceptible to using unfair means, including political behavior. Sixth is absence of collaborative behavior. An absence of collaboration and coordination among different organizational teams or groups also fosters political behaviors. This gets enhanced when there is a lack of trust among these units or when they see each other as competition. Seventh is ambiguous circumstances. Ambiguous circumstances in an organization might arise in a number of ways, and ambiguity breeds political behaviors among employees. Political behavior is especially likely when the direction being taken by the company is vague, decision-making processes are fuzzy, novel issues are being confronted, or management oversight is lax. Eighth, lack of checks against political behaviors. Political behavior can also be a result of an absence of visible repercussions for those involved in such behaviors. The management should adopt specific means of sending across a clear message that any sort of political behavior is neither encouraged nor will be tolerated. If there are no proper checks in place to discourage political behaviors, there is a high possibility that people in the organization will continue to act in political ways. Ninth, organizational change. Organizational change can be a turbulent time wherein there is a rearrangement of organizational policies or there are changes in organizational structure. In such circumstances, the established line of command might be disturbed, and as a result, there are many opportunities for the employees to engage in political behavior. 10th, organizational culture. An organizational culture characterized by a lack of trust, ambiguous organizational structure, absence of open and direct communication, vague performance appraisal and reward system, and lack of feedback from superiors is likely to foster political behaviors among the employees. Therefore, in order to minimize overly political behavior, the management and leaders should encourage equal access to information, facilitate collaboration among different organizational units and teams, along with an overt demonstration that political maneuvering will not be rewarded or tolerated. Furthermore, leaders should encourage managers throughout the organization to provide high levels of feedback to employees about their performance. Coming to antecedents of political behavior. Political behavior in organizations is far too common. It is facilitated by many factors within the organization and especially determined by the general culture in the organization. They are also associated with the people working in these organizations. These serve as antecedents to political behaviors. Antecedents can be categorized as individual antecedents and B, organizational antecedents. Coming to individual antecedents, a number of factors serve as potential antecedents of political behavior. On an individual level, personality traits have a lot to do with an individual's proclivity towards political behaviors. Whether or not someone will engage in political behavior can be determined to some extent on the basis of following. Firstly, it is the political skill. Political skill refers to the people's interpersonal style, including their ability to relate well to others, self-monitor, alter their reactions depending upon the situation they are in, and inspire confidence and trust. People who are socially sensitive and skilled at political behaviors are more likely to engage in organizational politics. Such people are able to closely monitor their responses to situations at hand, depending on the need of moment and with emotional restraint if required. Such people are able to closely monitor their responses to situations at hand, depending on the need of the moment and with emotional restraint if required. Such skills place them in a better position to exert influence over others. Next is internal locus of control. Individuals who are high in internal locus of control believe that the organizational environment can be controlled with right kinds of actions, and hence they are proactive in manipulating it. They rely on their own skills and capacity in handling situations rather than leaving the outcomes on some external, unpredictable forces. Therefore, it can be stated that those individuals who are high in internal locus of control tend to engage in more political behavior. Next is investment in organization. Investment in the organization is another key factor which acts as antecedent to political behavior. If a person has highly invested in an organization in terms of efforts and resources, there is a high expectations of better returns and future results. That is, they have more to lose if forced out. In such a situation, people prefer to play safe and refrain from indulging in any unfair means, including politics. This is in turn influenced by the perceived job alternatives available in the market. Next is expectations of success. Expectations of success also serve as an antecedent to political behavior. High expectations of success motivate an individual to actively engage in political activities. On the other hand, if an individual believes that he or she would not be able to make a difference or alter the outcomes through any of his or her actions, then it is highly unlikely that they engage in political behaviors. On this premise, highly experienced and powerful individuals are more likely to engage in political behaviors. Now, coming to organizational antecedents, following factors have been identified to operate as organizational antecedents to political behavior. First is scarcity of resources. Scarcity of resources breeds politics. When resources are scarce, different groups within the organization try to obtain them and are thus more likely to engage in political behaviors so as to influence their distribution. Allocation of these scarce resources can also prove to be a bone of contention among the involved parties. Next is role ambiguity. Role ambiguity is when people do not feel clear about their job responsibilities within the organization. People who experience role ambiguity are more prone to engage in unsanctioned political behaviors which are outside the prescribed activities, because political behaviors are informal and unofficial. Higher role ambiguity permits the employees to engage in political behaviors without being noticed. Next is performance evaluations. Performance evaluation is a regular human resource practice in organizations. This process becomes an organization antecedent to political behavior when there is a high level of ambiguity involved. Employees who are due for a performance appraisal tend to go extra length in order to favorably influence the appraisal outcomes, which can lead to greater political behavior such as impression management throughout the organization. Furthermore, performance appraisals might be seen as ambiguous if there are no pre-decided criteria of judgment. In other words, more the subjectivity involved in the processes of performance appraisal, higher the ambiguity and more likely the political behavior on the part of the involved employees. Next is promotions. Promotions offer a huge opportunity for those eligible and willing to advance their careers. But promotions are complex decisions to be taken by the supervisors after taking into consideration a number of factors. When there are more than a few individuals competing for limited number of promotion slots, each one of them is likely to make attempts to influencing the decision in their favor, which gives rise to political behavior. Next is democratic decision making. Democratic decision making sometimes serves as an antecedent to political behavior in organizations. Democratic decision making is characterized by giving a say to more and more employees in the decision making process. Employee opinions are sought by the managers and leaders while making decisions which are going to have an effect on these employees. Since there are many people in a position to influence the decision making process, it can sometimes inadvertently give rise to opportunities for engaging in political behavior. Now, coming to additional factors, some other factors which operate within the organization serves as antecedents to political behaviors. These are inherent in organizational structure and culture. Some of them are listed below. First is low trust. Lack of trust among employees as well as between employees and supervisors play an important role in determining the extent to which they engage in organizational politics. When there is less trust between the involved individuals, there are high politics in the organization. There are also high chances that the political behaviors used turn out to be illegitimate. Next is zero-sum reward system. Reward systems within the organizations also have a bearing on the level of politics in the organization. When there are desirable and high valence rewards at stake, employees tend to compete harder and meaner for them. This is especially true in case of zero-sum reward system, wherein one party's gain means others' loss. In other words, the total quantum of rewards is fixed so that if one individual's rewards goes up, it has to come out of another employee's due share. Such reward system undoubtedly makes the competition cutthroat and tempt the involved individuals to indulge in organizational politics. Next is high performance pressures. When the pressure to perform is high, people are more prone to use political activities in order to look good in terms of their outputs. For example, if an individual's performance determines whether or not he or she gets the desired position, the person is likely to try harder and even to go to the extent of using illegitimate political behaviors. Now coming to the next, that is consequences of political behavior. Because not everyone engages in political behaviors, in order to achieve what they want, organizational politics cannot be considered entirely justified. For those who do not engage in political behaviors, it becomes especially problematic. Those who follow proper procedures often feel jealous and resentful because they perceive it as unfair. Following are some of the consequences of political behaviors. First, decreased job satisfaction. When employees perceive political behaviors within the organization and also see them as unduly influencing organizational processes, they feel unfairly treated and as a result experience reduction in job satisfaction. Second is increased anxiety and stress. Job anxiety and stress are natural consequences for the individuals who find themselves at the receiving end of organizational politics. Third is employee turnover. Those who bear the brunt of organizational politics for a long time and perceive to have been treated unfairly or denied rewards they deserve may even consider quitting their jobs in extreme cases. Fourth is reduced performance. Perceptions of unfairness result in loss of motivation in those employees who prefer to stick to what they believe are right, which has a direct impact on their job performance. Coming to the next, that is organizational politics tactics. It is important to understand what different techniques individuals employ in order to exert influence through political moves. Some of the popular political tactics used in organizations are: first is divide and rule. Second, embrace or demolish. Third, forming coalitions. Fourth, controlling information. Fifth, attacking and blaming others. Sixth, maintain alliances with powerful people. Seventh, reciprocity of favors. Eighth, image management. Now coming to the summary, politics are very common in organizations. Organizational politics are unofficial, informal, unsanctioned and involves the use of power and authority in order to exert influence. Political behavior includes making moves to obtain favors, playing blame games, withholding information, bypassing the chain of command, lobbying, using unfair means, using impression management techniques, etc. All these behaviors comprise of what is referred to as politicking. Conflicting interests, competition for scarce resources, unequal access to information, lack of feedback, ambiguous roles, absence of collaborative behavior, ambiguous circumstances, lack of checks against political behavior, organizational change, etc. all serve as causes of political behaviors. Antecedents to political behavior can be individual as well as organizational. Individual antecedents include political skill, internal locus of control, investment in the organization and expectations of success. Organizational antecedents include scarcity of resources, role ambiguity, vague performance appraisals and promotions, and democratic decision making. And lastly, consequences of political behavior can be very unfavorable, like increased stress, anxiety and employee turnover, while reduced performance and job satisfaction.